Good evening. Welcome to Edessa Season 2. It is a lovely fall night. The skies are clear. There's a bit of a haze off to the west that makes I'm sorry, not the west, the east. That makes the rising moon look a little fuzzy. It's a full moon, and under its kind of fuzzy light, a couple different Canaanites have been invited. It's going to be a good night to large manse in the guild halls, um, where Hewat frequently entertains guests. When they arrive, they are greeted by a porter who's expecting them and shown in, um, offered the chance to wash their hands and feet, um, and basically treated with great courtesy and respect, and then shown back to a room full of couches that I believe they've both been in before. Are they both on time?
Yes. At least Irene is.
Like clockwork.
Excellent. So you probably show up about the same time. Um, and are welcome to make small chit chat before you head back, or simply greet one another cordially.
I think will be cordially conversation. After all, he's taking this time with the sacred ritual of washing his hands and feet, so he's kind of preoccupied, not willing to bother a woman of standing with chit chat.
I mean, Irene will do the courtesy and the greeting and will inquire, politely after his nights and how they've been and how he likes the city so far. But we'll keep it to the civilized small talk. That's just enough to make the situation not go awkward.
When you are shown back to the room of couches, Hewat is waiting for you. She immediately rises to greet you both. With kisses on the cheek for Irene, and a smile for both of you. And in the corner of the room is a second person who's kind of small and wizened, with a rather unfortunate pallor to his face. It's this man. And he also rises, but a little slower, watching you with a little less of Hewat's frank grace and a lot more wariness and curiosity. He comes forward to bow to you both.
Irene, for her
Shalom
part, will
alaikum.
return the courtesy.
And indeed, I will. I will not curtsy though, but I will nod in respect and acknowledge his presence, and say my name, since that seems to be polite.
And what did Irene do?
I think it might be me who has the like then. But yeah, Irene will courtesy and will wait for him to introduce first, if he so desires.
He says, Shalom Alaikum, to both of you, and gives a small smile to Asher. And as he's rising again, Hewat steps in to say, I don't believe you've all met yet. If you'll allow me, Ledger of Clan Cappadocian, this is the Lady Irene Agiris of Clan La Sombra, and, of course, Asher of Clan Ventru. I believe you all have a great deal in common.
Is this on the subject we spoke of earlier?
And what did Irene say?
She just said a pleasure to meet you.
Okay. He bows to Irene and nods to Asher. Um, actually, I'm sorry. Asher was talking to Hewat. So, Ledger. I'm gonna get my brain wrapped in circles. Ledger bows to Irene, and Hewat nods to Ledger. Nods to Asher, and gestures them, all three of them, to couches. Won't you sit?
Asher waits until he sits until everyone is in place to be seated, and then indeed waits until the ladies are seated.
Yeah, Irene will take a seat.
Hewat curls up, perfectly willing to set a good example, and Ledger settles himself back into his corner. Hewat actually kind of sits close to the door, closest. She takes the seat closest to the door, kind of perched on the edge, like she might leave at any moment.
Asher will look at Hewat for her explanation, since she invited them all, and he wasn't aware that the Cappadocian was there or that Irene was there beforehand. Not unwilling to meet any of them, just unknowing.
Well, Hewat tells me that we are brothers in a sense, says Ledger to Asher.
I've heard we are brothers in our faith in the one Lord, our God.
He nods. And also that you're a scholar.
I am a student of our laws. To call myself a scholar, however, would be unwise, since there are many, many smarter and wiser men than me.
He kind of eyeballs you through his brows, and gives you just a tiny smirk, and says, "Scholarship need not be competitive, but your humility is gracious in the sight of the Lord."
Asher counters that smile with a smile of his own. He's used to these kinds of um, back and forth coming within the Jewish community, as is as modesty is one of the pillars that Christianity and Judaism are very much built on eventually.
And you, my lady, is the when you say she's wearing her cross, it's fairly
Hmm.
large, isn't it? But it's not a piece of jewelry. Is it something she wears in a
It's
pocket?
an no, it's a necklace.
Oh,
So
is
she
it?
wears it
Okay.
around her neck. She usually has it like underneath her dress, which probably has right now as well. But it is a as far as I know, sort of holy object.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like it makes vampires uncomfortable around it usually. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
she
Ledger
actually
just
kind of wears it
generally
all the
looks
time, but I just keep forgetting it.
fair enough. Ledger just generally looks uncomfortable all the time. He's a Cappadocian. He just kind of has that like permanently uncomfortable kind of look about him, but not in an aggressive or mean-tempered way. So it's hard to tell whether it's bothering him.
It's basically, I believe, the lower the humanity score is, the more uncomfortable people feel with it. So
Mm-hmm.
I think
Oh,
what I know of Asher is that he is fine Well, fine, as in only slightly uncomfortable. If you have like humanity below 4, then it kind of becomes more annoying.
I
For
have not
details,
heard.
go to Chris.
Always a safe answer.
Right?
I've not heard that you are one of the nation of Israel, he says to Irene.
um, I'm afraid I'm not.
Ledger's head turns and he eyeballs Huot, and she smiles beatifically at all of you.
Asher gives the Asher knew she was not a Jewish woman. Um, I believe he once heard, and of course, it's very much easy to view that she's Christian now by the holy symbol she's wearing. But he did, of course, know about Hewat's mentioning of her, and he's going to make a try to direct this conversation into something that he feels that needs to be said. And he said, um, "My lady, ladies, and my gentlemen, um, I think, if I may say so, that my lady Hewat has tried to gather us all together, not only because we are of the faith, but also because I proposed to her a um, a how would you say a joined alliance under the name of a coterie that would, with a good conscience, gather together to protect and defend the city by the grace of our prince, where we take into account our conscience as well as our belief in a greater power. Doing so with our natural means necessary. For me personally, that would be my willingness to set up a place of education. But I'm sure there are many other ways that the city, under our guidance, could benefit. And I would like to do this in a joint group so we strengthen each other and boost each other, especially.
Protect and defend against what specifically? Sorry, sir.
Uh, no, it's a reasonable question. Protect and defend against attacks that might hit the city. At the moment, we are at a reasonable peace. However, I have heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, any of you, that there is still a Ventru elder at large that has no love for its prince and the city we are living in. Also, there will and shall always be things that influence our city in a bad way. Uh, I cannot uh, predict what this could be. However, I did hear that there was once an attack with some severe damaging sickness that took a lot of our natural populace to the brink of um, not disaster, the brink of despair. And um, me personally, I have a willingness to see if I can, in a way, with good conscience, serve the people of this city as I would serve the prince.
Hmm. You said there's a Ventru elder at large? That's something
I
I'm.
I would not say he is currently in an attacking moment, so to speak. He's not very vocal about his distrust or his lack of love for our prince. However, what I've heard, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, that there has been a struggle for who became prince, and there has been an elder that has, from my clan, that has been surpassed due to mm, political actions. However, this man um, holds no love, and I'd like to believe that he is willing to damage people from the city who are now willingly serve this prince.
What was his name again? I think I know who you're talking about.
I think you
He
do too.
Uh,
shifts uncomfortably, and um, while looking directly at Irene and smiling very faintly, she says, "Oh, I'm certain Herman would never do anything untoward." With the kind of expression that says that she's 100% certain that Herman would absolutely do something untoward, but would never be
oh
so
yeah.
rude to say so.
Irene will smile. Just not a like overly joyous smile or something, but just a small soft smile as if she's, well, not as if, but as if she is remembering things, because she totally is.
He's been
That poor
quiet,
man.
of course, but I don't know that one can quite call him at large. And all of
I
this is
call it at large.
100% double talk. Like, he is absolutely 110% saying polite niceties that she doesn't mean even a little bit. You don't have to roll for it.
No, thank you. I wasn't planning on it anyway, because clearly I hear what is being said. Um, but as you're both looking at each other, he understands very much what you mean, and he looks at his new acquaintance, a Cappadocian. I'm not sure if he's been as well informed as the ladies.
He's listening. His expression is a little bit pinched and thoughtful, but he um, doesn't look angry or anything. He just looks kind of like he's taking this all in.
Right. So he's being informed as we speak. Um, so and because we are not sure what else might come crawling towards this city as soon as it becomes more prosperous, I think it would be beneficial to all of us to to form this group, this coterie, this
A
joined
group of
alliance.
faith.
Especially, well, you can call it a group of faith. I would like to call it a group of conscience, because some people might do horrible things in the name of faith, and I'd like to keep it within our faithful consciousness instead of within our faith, because there are many faiths and not all of them serve the same conscience as I like to believe I do.
Hmm. It is an interesting proposal. However,
Sorry, I didn't hear that
I
last part.
feel
My microphone.
no. Okay. She said it is an interesting proposal. However, I feel that our goal might be more clear and more specific than you may anticipate.
Could you give me an example?
If we are if we are a group of conscience, if we want to form
Hmm.
this coterie, and I do not immediately reject it, although I have been in a coterie um, up until recently.
I was not informed.
I uh, it's unfortunate that the two gentlemen have decided to go separate ways. Mm, the thing is, the way I feel about it right now, of gathering four people who, as far as your words have made me understand, are rather, well, as you say, try to live with a clear conscience and uphold the laws of the faith that the religion that they follow. I feel one of our goals, one of our main goals, if you want to set this, also, in all honesty, if you want my cooperation, should be to hunt down the infernalists within the city, to destroy the demons that lure in the shadows of this town, lurk, I should say, not lure.
The
La la
moment,
la.
the
I
moment
can't
you say,
English.
the moment you say infernalism, um, I don't look shocked because I did hear the word before, but you can see a little bit of puzzlement because although you say hunt down infernalists, which he is not against, he's pro destroying any sort of demonic a creature, he has no idea what you actually mean. He's never interacted with demons or infernalists or anything of that kind. He'd like to be against it, but he doesn't really know what you're talking about.
Be
And so that
prepared.
puzzlement is on his face.
Irene is in all honesty also waiting for the other people's reactions, so she just looks at the other two to see if any either of them have like are like looking as puzzled as Asher does, or if they're like or nah.
Go ahead and
Uh
roll
huh. Uh-uh.
perception alertness.
Yay! I love perception alertness.
Discord
Me too, me too, me too.
and dice. Oh wait, fuck. That's the wrong sheet. God damn it.
I, of course, don't have the sheet that I need to have up because those. Good job, self.
I got like a 10.
I know. Really.
I have a
You
feeling.
also have a 7.
Yes. I also throw 6 dice. Giggity goo.
So
Oh,
you
you're
have
not
two
the only one.
successes.
Yes, but I am a fucking low level character, you godlike creature.
I'm not a godlike creature. I do have a 10 and a
You
9, so I have two successes as well.
smarty ass.
And
Haha.
oh, that's a great pool. And by a great pool, I mean that's not a great. Well, it's not actually.
It's like it's a great pool, and that second of happiness you took away.
So, well, it's
God damn it.
great enough pool. Um, you have the two of you have been speaking intently, and when you turn towards Hiwat, she has disappeared. She's slipped out the door, and the three of you have been left alone to discuss.
We don't get a fucking roll for that. Fuck.
You just
Ballers.
did get a roll for
That's
that.
the roll you
You
just
failed.
did, dude.
It wasn't enough. She got 3 successes. You got 2, and she slid out.
Irene will stand up at that moment because this is like a topic that people don't just sneak out of without like any bad intentions. So she's just standing up and looking around. Wait. Like Irene is just, I mean, normally Irene is rather naive, but she's been learning some lessons. So she looks on edge right now.
1 second. Let me roll one more thing. Gosh, Everybody's got the same dice pool. Yeah. Ledger just kind of looks puzzled. More puzzled than you guys even. Something wrong?
Well, if there's
Where
something
did your
wrong,
cat
then
go?
something is wrong. I have no idea. I thought she was here like a second ago.
I
He's
thought
looking
so
at
too.
Irene. Is my lady, is something wrong?
I. This is a. The subject I just addressed is something that is very real, very actual, and someone just simply vanishing while we're discussing this, it makes me feel slightly uncomfortable.
He glances toward the door and then pulls himself to his feet and heads for the door. I don't believe she meant to stay, but I'm sure we can find her and bring her back if you'd like her to be in on this conversation.
I'm just not used to someone simply stepping away from a conversation like that. If anything, it's hardly polite and somewhat suspicious given the topic. I'm sorry, but she'll sit down and she'll actually sigh.
Better safe than sorry, he's saying as he pokes his head into the hall. And you see him kind of jerk slightly. He says, oh, you there. Fetch your mistress back. And you hear footsteps heading down the hall. Ledger closes the door and comes back in and sits back down.
Like at this moment, like I think if there's any more puzzlement on Asher's face, you need to be painting it because he's just he's not really understanding what the fuzz is about. Because to him, infernalism is something from a book. Like he's of course he's against demons and devils and all that kind of stuff, but that's as far as his knowledge goes. That he's against all the stuff that is against him in the Bible, or in his case the Talmud. So it's weird and
It's weird.
slightly
Welcome to
discomforting.
Edessa.
What was that?
There is a
I,
slight discomfort. Let's put it that way.
What'd you
and
say,
I just
Saskia?
made an OC remark.
Oh,
I
I
said it's
missed it.
weird. Welcome to Edessa.
Yeah. So, Ledger says, my brother, our city has suffered at the hands of infernalists. I'm afraid I don't know most of the details as well as I probably ought. But I understand there's been quite a fuss accompanying the plague, and its
I didn't
after
know
effects
demons
as
were
well.
behind the. I didn't know demonic powers were behind the plague.
It
Well,
is a long and complicated story. But if you want to, I can try and inform you as well as I can. There are a lot of details to the story, and I might not know most of it, but I think I'm one of the people in this city who are best informed about the situation.
How would you come to this knowledge? He's now frowning. He's not really trusting anything right now. He still
he
considers it to
watches.
be a very, very scary subject.
She slips quietly back into the room.
Unfortunately, most of it through experience.
Is something wrong?
Well, actually, we were talking about a very, very fishy subject. And we were wondering all of a sudden who you were, so that was kind of odd. It just made us feel uncomfortable.
Oh no, I'm terribly sorry. What were you discussing? I thought it was probably a good idea to. Well, there's only so much I can help facilitate without becoming a little too involved. Thought some privacy might be appropriate for your negotiations and frankly to give you the chance to bond. But I can stay if you prefer.
Well, no, we were talking about a subject that was so how would I say, was so sensitive is the word. That it was odd that during a sensitive subject, such as we spoke about, someone suddenly disappeared from the room. So that makes it all look anxious, at say the least.
She her eyes move from person to person, lingering on each of you. Hang on, she's going to roll a thing.
One of her demonic powers.
Sure.
If that's perception empathy, please say so, because I will roll my subterfuge at that.
It's actually wow. It's read the soul, not perception empathy.
Oh, wow.
She's peeking at your. Ooh, I bet Irene's aura looks amazing right now.
I'll need to pull up the book. God damn it.
I will. Do you guys have the list handy of what the colors are, or should I put it in? I can put it in the Facebook chat if you like.
Um,
Oh yeah, that's fine.
yeah, that would
put it in.
probably work
I have
fastest.
no idea what my soul looks like. Giggity.
Your soul or your characters?
She's got enough successes she can just about do Jesse's soul.
It's dark, black, and gloomy.
You don't want to look at my soul, believe me.
Okay, so
You
it's
have
in
a
the
soul, I
Edessa
didn't
chat.
know.
Shh! Don't give him all the details.
So she has
Actually, by now have the book, so.
3 successes on Asher first.
Right, 3 successes. That makes me want to check the list because I have no idea. There's a list. There's a list. Oh, right, in the chat. Let me guess you put it in the chat.
And the
Right.
successes mostly just say that it's enough successes for her to get a pretty good picture of what's the word I want? Not just the main color, but a little bit more in depth.
Yeah, I still don't know the explanation of all the colors, so that's kind of tricky to explain.
Mm-hmm. Do you have the list I put up?
No, I don't see any list you put up.
It's in the Facebook chat.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that's a chat,
So,
right?
I'm sorry, yes.
oh, right. Okay, then I have to start that up again. Because that to me that chat is always closed because I hate the 27,000 messages a minute thing. Sassy turkey, got it. Right. So he would. So this is on the subject that they just discussed, right?
It's more his mood in general.
His mood in general.
It's
He
not
would
like
say his. is his first thing you would notice at him that he was just mottled and shifting in color.
Okay.
Uh, when you look deeper, so to speak, um, it's dark blue.
Mm-hmm.
He is suspicious. He's not really trusting what is being said. Light green could also work with that one,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what you'll get. At the moment, he's just confused and not really sure what to believe.
Okay. And she had 4 successes on Irene.
Okay. Irene is mostly mostly light blue and pink, um, with some violets and rose, um, mixed in between that. Um, but oh, and there's white there because yeah, actually a lot of colors. Oh well, whatever. Um, but at the moment, what you can also see, kind of like um, almost like lightning bolts, kind of flashing through it, are like hints of orange and brown and red.
Okay. So Hewat glances at all three of you in turn, and then she stops and clasps her hand in front of her and her hands in front of her and bows very deeply. I have made a terrible error, and I hope you will forgive me. I didn't in the least mean to alarm you.
Right, I'm gonna check that shit on sincerity.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
Sincerity.
was gonna say I want to P&E that. But that's about it. Like Irene is not that distrustful most of the time, so don't worry.
Well, normally I wouldn't be distrustful, but at this point I'm not really happy with the subject, so it's a touchy thing. Touchy subject. But I'm throwing 2 8s and a 1, so I suck. There you go.
No, you still have 1 success. I have 2,
Yeah.
so it's not great, but it's something. And yay, we're doing a scene with the May again. Lots of peonies.
um,
Sorry. For a second there, you said a lot of penises, penis, and whatever.
What?
nope.
That's what I heard.
Yeah,
Um,
no, we're noping out of this.
she looks quite sincere. She looks there's a lot of emotions on her face, but um none of them seem to indicate any kind of shiftiness or that she's hiding anything. She looks maybe a little frustrated with herself, but mostly she just looks um very apologetic. She's watching all of you with kind of sad eyes, like, whoops, I fucked it up.
It's it's quite alright. You're just wondering where you went. It's not uncommon for people to disappear all of a sudden and, well, not and who don't have good intentions. So naturally, being who we are, it is somewhat off-putting, but I am sure that we all don't hold anything against you for trying to give our group some privacy, and I do thank you for that.
To my dismay, my intentions were better than the best in this instance. I have told, and she nods to Asher, I have told Asher that I do not think that this coterie would necessarily be a good fit for me. But I would like to see it succeed. And I would not like to cast doubt upon its founding. I meant to give you room to speak plainly.
I understand.
When I
And
left, you were discussing faith. My Lord Venture was discussing at length. She gives him a smirk, like, you were lecturing. But it's not like, it's teasing, but it's not, derogatory or scolding.
I poke the paranoid bear. That helps. Now, yeah, he's just trying to compose himself in order to at least make himself look or think sensible. So he's less confused. He's not gonna respond. He's just gonna wait.
Would you prefer I stay? Or shall I leave you to your negotiations?
whatever you prefer, we understand your meaning behind your leaving now. So
I
feel
swear
free
to
to
you,
do what you feel is best.
to you all, that this house has been made safe for your meeting. And I should rather be Ash myself than have any of you come to harm tonight.
That is way too sincere for me. I'm gonna. Those are like dangerous words from a vampire's mouth. Wishing for
You are
Ashy.
very generous.
Oh, of course I roll like crap. I have no idea.
I mean,
I
as
do
long
not
as you
botch,
don't
but
botch.
I do fail. I do not botch, but I do fail with it not helping. Um, so that.
She's at 5. Everything she says is pretty. So pretty. Asher can't see through it.
Yeah, that must be it. Tits and beer always helps.
What's Ledger at? One moment. I have too many windows open. How do I have this many windows open? It's a social.
That's called STing.
Okay, that's fair. So Ledger is watching. He's kind of leaning forward with his elbows on his knees to watch all of this intently. And is squinting at her. And he sits up and sits back and says, "No offense taken. Be gone if you do not mean to enter into these negotiations, and we shall question our consciences." And he glances at Irene and Asher and says, "If you would trust me, I feel quite confident the girl meant no harm."
That's quite all right.
He gives him kind of a wry look at being called a girl. She obviously doesn't appreciate that, but she bows and glances at both of you, and if neither of you stop her, then she slips back out again.
Asher's not stopping her, obviously, being a little neonate, but uh,
Everyone,
he's going to be wary. Is that the word?
Mhm.
Yep.
I should have said in the introductions, and I didn't because I fail. Everyone here is a neonate, and you ought definitely have introduced that as part of the introductions that she gave, and I failed at. So
All right, that helps.
I retroactively apologize for screwing that up. Everybody here is a neonate, including Hiwat.
I
Yay.
Yeah, I know he was a neonate, but I believe Irene is not a neonate. She is an ancilla.
Oh, yes.
No,
No,
she's a
she's a
neonate.
neonate.
No,
She's
you have
very much a
definitely
neonate.
ancilla status.
She
That does
has
not
more
say I.
status than most neonates based on her heritage.
But
But
she's still a neonate.
yes, she's a neonate. She's less than a year old, I think.
Yeah. No, 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 no. She's over a year old. She's about a year and a half.
All right.
So she's a
Oh,
very
in the
young
mind,
neonate.
yeah, and then already ancilla status. It's like unfair vampires. Anyway,
So Ledger waits till she closes the door behind her and says, I am intrigued by the both of you. I've heard a great deal
Really?
about you, my lady.
I wouldn't trust
You.
too much on what you've heard.
I try not to, but it is interesting to compare it to what I have seen tonight. I did not know that.
You.
Please.
No, please go ahead.
No, this is a night to learn about one another.
I hope you're willing to share your findings. You certainly make me curious.
I do consider myself a scholar, but I'm not selfish in my studies.
Asher's. You can call her Asher interested.
I have not studied demons. I'm intrigued to find that this is something you have studied.
Ah, you give me too much credit. I certainly have not studied demons. However, unfortunate events have caused me on, or should I say fortunate? A mixture of both. Have put me on the path that made me run into one.
You've met one directly.
I have fought one once, yes.
And you survived. Yeah, he's just saying
I
that
was
out
only well.
loud. He's saying that out loud because he in his mind demons are like omnipotent creatures because obviously all he knows about demons is like in the Bible and such, so he has no clue.
Survived to hate them, which is a sign of strong will.
Yeah, definitely perseverance.
Please, the both of you. Again, you give me way too much credit. I say I fought one, but I was not the one to temporarily defeat it, and my actions were helpful, but nothing more than that. Were I alone up to this creature, I am quite sure I would not be sitting here today.
He nods, considers that.
But I can assure the both of you that infernalists are in Edessa, working very hard to bring down all that we have worked for. And if it were up to me, and if you would want to form a coterie and would want me in there, then I will promise you that I will do whatever it takes to bring these people down and the demon that fights alongside them. If you
Asher
cannot,
cannot. Sorry.
if you cannot work with that, or if there's any reason why you do not wish to interfere with that, then I am afraid that it would be difficult to form a coterie here.
Asher cannot suppress a smile. He's actually smiling that you say this because he would never want to allow something like a demon who he believes preys on humans and is definitely something that is inherent, corrupting, and evil to prey on his beloved people. So he's not even he's unable to suppress a smile when you say that, and he's almost eagerly to say, "Then feel welcome, be welcome. I'd like to hear more about your fervent distrust of this demon and what you've known about his weaknesses, so we can defeat it." And then he looks at Ledger.
Irene will, yeah, Irene will give a small smile and her eyes will go over to Ledger as well.
I have never fought a demon, but I am a man of God, and I understand that perhaps I may be helpful in doing so.
Bigger smile. Then that is settled. He thinks for a moment and then kind of scratches his head. So, um, how public would you like our coterie to present itself? There's a reason I have not picked a way to communicate with, say, harpies in order to get a general announcement out. Instead, I've went to Hewat, uh, hoping she would join, and she gave me other suggestions. Um, my my intent is not to gather everyone or ask for a general protection just yet. My longer intent is to ask for the protection. Obviously, if we could get our prince to give us a blessing, that would be wonderful. However, um, I am very wary to invite just anyone. First of all, because we are fighting this fight, which is obviously against a very corrupting and very dangerous enemy, but also because I am not sure if every person within the city is so much against the demon as we are, or at forming a coterie fighting this.
I think there are a couple of things we need to establish. I am more than happy to give you my version of the events that have come to pass in Edessa, as well as the events that are about to happen. But perhaps before we get into so much detail, if we want to make this succeed, we might want to share some of our goals, our interests, get to know each other. After all, a coterie works very closely together, and we barely know each other.
Asher nods. He agrees on that subject.
Ledger
So
also nods. He kind of has
perhaps,
been nodding.
so perhaps we can do a short introduction of ourselves to each other, explaining who we are, what we stand for, and what our specialty is, how we can fight, where our qualities lie, so that we might find out if this is a fit, yes or no. I'm not telling I'm not saying that we should lay bare our souls to each other, but just a simple introduction.
Well,
Would
I'm
both
not
of you
Fair
sure.
agree?
enough.
Oh, I'm sorry. What'd you say? I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Well, yeah, he didn't. Asher simply nods and he agrees. It's fine. He considers it to be a process. Um, he never considered these things. However, they totally make sense. And he is kind of thinking in a way of how he would how he can do this. So he says, "Well, since this is my idea, I suppose I should start." And he thinks for a moment. He said, "I am not a very um what would I say, not a very violent man. Not only because I believe problems most of the time can be solved in another way, but also because I'd like to keep in touch with that part that I believe is bestowed upon me by our Lord. I do believe that I could be of great help when it comes to getting in touch with the people. And what I mean with the people is the regular people that you and I see in the street, the poorer line of people, if you will. My goal with them is to um, enrich them with knowledge, so to grow and make the city grow as I've seen Aleppo grow when places of study were um, were raised and used in order in order to educate the city and give it a form of enlightenment, if you will, where respect for all faiths are one of the things that are most important. And I would like to see this trickle down into Edessa.
Interesting. Thank you.
I'm afraid I am also not much more of a warrior. I've always been of the mind that discretion is the better part of valor. He says, and he glances at Irene. His expression is kind of wry and um, sort of self-effacing. Like he's like, well, looks like you, pretty lady, are the the battle mind in the group.
Our combat monkey.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Um. Yep.
Okay.
Our warrior, our warrior princess.
100%.
God.
And he looks pretty amused by that, and maybe a little apologetic. Maybe a lot apologetic, actually. He's kind of an apologetic sort of person in a kind of grumbly kind of way. I have done a great deal of studying in the ways of discretion. I've been in town some time. My lineage is the finest that Edessa has to offer.
Interesting. Can I roll K-Night lore on that? Or on him? Or I don't know.
Sure, yeah.
I swear, if he's like the child of the former prince, that would be hilarious. Intelligence. I got only one success.
Um, One second, let me make sure I'm not lying.
Uh-oh.
I'm 99% sure I'm not lying, but I don't know what direction that goes in. Do, 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 do.
When ST starts singing, plot happens.
So you know that he's not a child of the former prince, but he's somewhere in that
Region.
bloodline.
Interesting. Okay. Check.
I'm especially not rolling because I've never heard of the former prince or how his importance was, yes or no, involved in anything. So I'm happily and clueless and oblivious again. Seems
And you don't get the sense, Asher, that he's telling you all this to set himself up as better than you. It's almost offered as part of his apology, like, here's why I'm still useful.
Oh.
okay. Well, he's not at all. Asher at this time is not at all judging him. I mean, he seems so polite and so nice that it's hard to judge him for being who he is. So there.
I have worked with the Christians, with the Muslims, for some time. It is where I am comfortable, is among the people of God. However misguided they may be, and he kind of bows towards Irene with, again, kind of a little smirk that says, I'm mostly joking.
Mostly.
Mostly joking. There's kind of a backbone behind his apologetic grumbliness. If it came to battle, I suppose I might last a little longer than most. My clan is known to weather many storms, but I don't suppose that. Well, I've certainly never tried my hand against a demon, and I've tried my hands against very few people indeed. But I'm happy to work quietly and deft at working with many people.
I see. Well, I guess that leaves me to introduce myself.
Please.
I was given this life about a year and a half ago. As I'm sure that both of you are aware, my sire is Prince Ulrich of the nearby city of Timiran. He is what I would presume would qualify as a demon hunter. It is from him that I've learned and am still learning very much when it comes to fighting anything infernal. My he has also taught me the ways of the sword, but I would not say I am a fighter first and foremost. I may hope not. I have some ties to the city. Most of them are in the nobles and the city watch. But I also have a little sway over the Christian community and a little bit over the common people. So I guess that is where my qualities lie. Some of you, perhaps both of you, might also be aware of the, well, no longer secrets that I am somewhat gifted when it comes to foreseeing things in a certain way.
Oh, this is new to Asher. Completely new, so he didn't know.
No, I know.
It
Sort
also
of a
looks new
public
to.
secret, though.
Poor
It is
Irene, she tried though. She tried to keep it
I
secret.
tried to keep it secret, but I failed.
Well, Ledger doesn't look like he knew, so there's that.
clearly we're both the last one to hear any sort of gossip.
I mean, you knew about the Ventru Primogen running around.
Yeah. That's true. That is true. That is true.
Running around even.
Yeah, he's actually making a show of it.
Well, no, now he's disappeared. He has fucked off.
Well, Irene didn't know about that, and that is kind of interesting to her on a more personal note. Um, Because reasons.
Uh huh.
Because, public humiliation can be a thing. I totally had nothing to do with that, I promise.
Nothing.
Oh boy.
Nothing. It was
Don't.
not my fault.
Let's continue before this turns into a meme. So Asher nods and then says, "So how would any of you do? Any of you have a suggestion of how you would like our coterie to be known, or would you like to wait until we are absolutely sure we don't want to have? We are absolutely sure that we've all the people that we want within the coterie, or do you both believe that we should just start with three and see if it attracts anything else at this point?"
Hmm.
I see little need for secrecy. I am a member of good standing in the court. I'm certain that you will be as well. He nods to Asher, and then he kind of eyeballs Irene with with a very rueful look, and he says,
Yeah.
"And the court must love you whether they like it or not."
I highly doubt that I'm a crowd favorite at the moment.
Ah, well, you will be again. I have every confidence.
I
Your popularity seems to rise and fall, but
I can assure you that, and I will roll subterfuge for this after I state this. I can
Oh,
assure
goody.
you that I have no intention on being a crowd's favorite. I just want to do
oh,
what's
Irene.
best.
Uh huh.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. She's lying. She's lying.
Uh,
Like I
show,
said, I will
show,
roll my subterfuge for
show,
this.
show me the subterfuge, and I challenge, of course, with any sort of means
May,
necessary.
dear SD, may I spend the willpower on this?
Yes, you may.
And I shall, because this has been a lie that she's been saying several times,
Uh
and
huh.
she would like to maintain this image.
If
So manipulation, subterfuge.
if you tell a lie more than once, doesn't make it more true. Just hard
No,
lie.
but it makes you more ready to say the lie. Therefore, I feel that I can spend the willpower on
Of
this.
course, go ahead.
3 successes.
Wonderful. God, don't fail me now.
How about yes?
And he fails me, the fucking bugger.
Yay!
Says you
Irene
don't
will
get to put
still
it
look
in your blue
humble
book,
as
but
ever.
everybody believes you.
For once, everybody believe me. Irene looks humble as ever. She clearly is not out for being the shining center of attention that she sometimes is. That is definitely not something that makes her happy.
Very believable. Very believable.
She also never lies and likes chickens. Anyway, so then they will continue. And they will continue happily so.
So sorry, they were talking about. She was saying that she doesn't try to be the court favorite, but they were talking
Yeah.
before that about whether they wanted to present themselves as a coterie and make it public knowledge.
Yeah, and how would they like to be called as a group, or how we like to be called as a group?
Um, as far as announcing ourselves goes, I agree that there's no need for secrecy, but perhaps it may be interesting to announce ourselves with something we've actually achieved.
Ah, well said. Yes, that will do nicely.
Fair enough.
He rises a little bit creakily and reaches out to offer a hand, first to Asher.
Asher will take the hand, obviously.
He gives it a firm shake, and then lets it go to offer the same hand to Irene.
Yeah, Irene will accept the hand.
And as he's giving Irene the same firm shake, there is a bit of a commotion outside the door. It's muffled by the door. Go ahead and roll perception and alertness, both of you, please.
But I'm
Oh.
bad at perception alertness. That's for like smart people who like combat and do
I
stuff.
thought you said you liked perception alertness last time that we discussed this.
Of course, I like it.
Well, I think Irene is blissfully ignorant this time.
She's like, ew, Cappadocian's touching me. Oh, wow.
Oh no, she has no issues with Cappadocians touching her.
Oh,
That sounded weird. Oh god.
it didn't. I'm just giving you a hard time.
It's not weird. It's creepy.
Jeez,
I have 4
weird,
success.
guys.
There you go.
Jesus.
So Irene doesn't hear much. Ledger hears the mice in the walls, and Asher isn't far behind him. Asher, you hear a woman's voice laughing. There's kind of a note to it of embarrassment or teasing. Basically, there's quite a bit of quick talking going out in the hall. Two women are talking quickly and not particularly trying to keep their voices down. But you hear Hiwat speaking to someone else. And you've heard someone show up late before, right? Like to a party. That kind of, oh, it was what time? Oh no! Like that kind of tone is what you hear in the hall.
Right.
And just as Ledger's head turns to face the door opens once more, and someone new pops into the room.
All right.
She kind of brings the perfumed air of the hall in with her.
Oh boy.
Her eyes are wide, and she stops and stares at all of you, and then offers a wide grin. I'm terribly sorry I'm late. I believe there must have been an awful miscommunication.
Asher looks at her and recognizes that he's never met her before. And he will simply then bow towards her politely and say, "My name is Asher, neonate of Clan Ventru. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking to?"
She glances at all of them and then drops into a deep and elegant curtsy. Hiwat is standing behind her, looking kind of amused and chuckly. And it's quite obvious. Over her shoulder, once Morphia bows. And she says from the bottom of her curtsy, Morphia of Clan Tremere, a neonate and new to Edessa. And then she rises and smiles to look at the two who have not spoken.
Irene Argyris, Clan La Sombra.
She smiles and says, of course. And then looks at Ledger, who's kind of faded back. Not necessarily behind Irene, but a little bit kind of into her shadow.
Huh.
Less like he's hiding behind her and more like he's standing at her shoulder and looking like this woman is a little bit much for him right now. But he nods and bows and says, Ledger of Clan Cappadocian.
A pleasure, ma'am.
Hiwat slips around her and says, I'm terribly sorry for the miscommunication. I believe that you'll find that Morphia is of a like mind to yours.
I'm going to see yes or no if I'm going to pick on punctuality. Let me see what I can do about that. I'm going to roll a. I think it will be wits etiquette, or
Okay.
maybe more like charisma etiquette. Yeah. In order to, yeah, I am going to do wits etiquette. If it's right enough, I'll make it interesting. 2 and 1.
What are you rolling for?
I am rolling to, in a most polite way possible, talk to her about the punctuality issue. Yeah, I got it. Yeah. All right. So, in his most polite way, as a response, that's why he's using wits, almost directly to her words, he says, "My lady, I must say I am a very punctual man myself, and I feel like I would be remiss if not to say that I'm kind of surprised about your introduction, since I did not know we were waiting for someone else."
She's watching you. She's watching the room, including keeping an eye on Hewat. Which means that her head's turning quite frequently. Well, please accept my deepest apologies. Truly, it was a misunderstanding and not an indication of insult.
I'm not insulted at all, he says, meaning that he's not insulted. He's just surprised and caught a little off guard, I would say. Would.
Could I get perception etiquette rolls from either of you, if you wish?
Sure.
Yes.
I feel like this is Irene's wheelhouse.
You call Irene a fighter, but her specialties lie in etiquette and politics.
Yes, they do.
I'm not bad, I'd like to think. 2 successes, not amazing, but then again, oh well, we can't all be Irene.
Yeah.
Not
Does
yet.
my specialty in courtly manners apply?
Oh, yes. Yes, it does.
Then I got 4 successes.
Jesus, you sure did. So both of you are political people, you know, to some extent, and who concentrate on the niceties. Both of you are watching the situation, which is unfolding with the deepest awkwardness. And it occurs to you both, Irene a little faster than Asher, that there's something a little bit off, and you are pretty sure that Hewat has sabotaged this woman. Just a little bit. Like, she legitimately seems embarrassed and ill at ease. Hewat looks 175% in her element, and there's something about the way that she's standing very apologetic, and you're pretty sure that Hewat told her the wrong time.
Well, here's the difficult part of this. It's I feel very bad, out of character for being like this, but
No, don't.
it's a Tremere, and I don't know how to feel about this.
It's a great response. I had the same response in mind because I'm not against Tremere. I'm trying to keep an open mind, but they're definitely
Tremere.
what Tremere.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
no, I have to think about what Ventrue think of Tremere. And Tremere
They're
have been
not
a very
against him.
strong ally. No, they've been a very strong ally,
Yeah.
especially during the debacle of what people now call the fall, the fall of a great city. um, so he will speak the words and say, "Well, milady, all is of course forgiven. Let us start with a fresh look upon each other. Um, we," and he nods towards Ledger, and then um, gently um, manners towards Irene, have come to a conclusion that we are willing to join our neonate neonate resources together in a way of assisting and helping the city. And we've all been introducing each other, um, telling each other our goals and our intentions. So please, lady, have a seat, and I'll try to explain what my intentions are, and you can decide if you're willing to introduce yourself afterwards, hoping that you find us suitable companions if you want to venture alongside us towards a greater Edessa and a joint coterie.
As Asher is talking, murmurs something about being terribly sorry for the miscommunication. She'll just be over here. And she slips out again.
All right.
As he finishes talking, Ledger has sat back down, by the way. He kind of wandered back to his seat and got comfortable. And as Asher finishes talking and tells her to, Morphia goes and perches on the edge of one of the couches, watching the three of you curiously.
My lady, we came together because I talked to Lady Hewat in order to get people, get her involved in what I believe should be a coterie of conscience, a coterie that assists the city in finding that which opposes it in order to defeat it before it bothers our prince any more than absolutely necessary. Doing so, hopefully, gaining us the favor that is necessary to operate and continue to exist in his of the prince, her city.
That sounds like a very good idea.
However, doing so, we have decided as a group, if you're willing to join us, that part of this fight would be going up against infernalists, and he looks very he looks at her response when he speaks those words.
Her brows shoot straight up, and she nods.
So that um uh, he expected more of a response since he was so oblivious, but obviously other people are better informed than him. And he says, "So we came to our conclusion that we were willing to join together in fighting the enemies of the city, um, but will not publicly announce our step or venture forward until we have found a or could have claimed a victory over something or someone opposing our beloved city and of course our prince. However, I personally must emphasize that we are currently only with three and not a coterie that at this point is very I'm lost for words here.
Rooted.
No, yeah, very eager and rooted into solving problems like a carpenter. To us, not every problem is a nail that needs to be hammered, but more something that can be dealt with in a more subtle and more how would you say?
Saskia, help me.
I didn't hear what you were saying.
I
Just
wasn't saying anything, but you
Saskia's just
mentioned subtle, and I was like looking at Irene's history. I'm like, well, you know.
I don't
oh
know.
yes, subtle.
Very
Irene's very subtle. Don't worry about it. It's
yeah.
Uh-huh.
fine.
Anyway, yeah, you made me go off track. Anyway,
Oh,
I can't remember where I was.
You're
I'm
talking
so
about
sorry.
not every problem is a nail.
Right, that needs to be hammered,
Mhm.
but things can be done in a more subtle way with our uses of influence and our perception on what we consider to be the people of the city. Um, Clearly is talking about the humans.
Fascinating. I'm very much a fan of the subtle arts.
I'm happy to hear this.
She smiles at him and glances at Irene.
God, why?
What's Irene doing?
Because you're making silly sounds like
Uh-huh.
that would make me
Irene is just keeping a composed face.
Roll that. Let's
proof.
let's see composed face. Let's do this.
Okay, okay.
Prove it or it didn't happen.
Okay. I will. Manipulation, subterfuge. That's not a bad dice pool at all. I wish I could roll appearance subterfuge for this. Well, I mean, still 3 successes. That's not half bad.
Let me see if I can beat that. Since my rolls have been so incredibly great.
God, there it
Oh
goes
well,
though.
yes. This time you'll have to explain me while your grandmother is looking.
My grandmother, well,
look at these. Look at these successes. It's a 9 and 8, a 7 and 8, and a 9.
So
yep.
he has
Okay.
5. You have 3. She has 4. So what?
Oh,
She has
wow.
basically 1 success over you.
Okay. Ta, 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 ta. I'm just trying to come up with something, but it's starting to get late.
That's fair. That's fair. We're almost done here. I promise.
So, yeah, I think she will see that Irene is somewhat like She doesn't seem too happy about the Tamir being there, but not like hateful or anything. Just
Mhm.
uncomfortable is
Mhm.
probably the right word. Um, Asher, you can see that there is some, yeah, like I said, uncomfortableness behind the well, trying to be properly sombra, political face,
Yeah.
which is mostly born out of seems to be some sort of a conflict. Like, she is Irene is not sure what to think about this. Partially because she does not want to trust Tremere, but she also wants to be open minded and be a good person.
Right.
Not quite sure if you read all of that, but like just to give you a little bit more of a hint behind the conflict, what's it about? So yeah, she's just conflicted about the entire situation and doesn't quite know how to react. So he's just trying to keep a placid face as much as he can.
I think that's more than fair enough for only 2 successes more than your hiding powers. Um. So yeah, Usher will actually try to how would I say make this less hard, and he will turn to Ledger actually, and uh, he will say, "I personally would like to welcome you to at least consider joining. However, uh, I am not alone in this endeavor, as we've just decided that we're doing this together. So our first action together would be listening to your goals in this city."
When you said that he's turning towards Ledger, he's not telling Ledger to list his goals, is he?
No, no,
He's
no, no.
he's speaking to.
He's turning to Ledger, more looking if Ledger agrees with what he's saying, because he's been awfully quiet, obviously.
Mhm.
Um, he's looking for a slight bit of support since he has the feeling that Irene at this moment is very much on the bench, and he is still looking for more support, obviously.
Mhm.
So he's looking at Ledger if he agrees with the open-mindedness that Asher is proposing as of this point, while he still talks to um, what's her name? I have to read it.
Morphia.
Morphia.
Ledger looks vaguely amused and doesn't look particularly what's the word I want? Inclined to come forward with a strong opinion. He mostly just kind of looks amused and quiet.
All right, fair enough.
But Morphia is glancing between the two of you and says, "Well, I'm afraid that my timeliness has rather put all of us at a disadvantage. Perhaps a compromise would be the best way to start. Tonight seems like good, healthy decisions have already been made, and I would not like in any way to compromise them. I'll tell you a little about myself, and perhaps you will consider me a candidate for a later time. Yes, I think that's probably the best way to go about it. Clan Tremere has, of course, from what I understand in Edessa, and she kind of bows to Irene and to and to Ledger as though she knows that they've been here longer. Cannot be said to have been at odds with Clan Cappadocian or Clan Lasombra. But I understand that all of our clans are seeking to reaffirm their loyalties at this time, since the loss of the steady hand of our prince. And she bows towards Ledger again. He once said that, well, I will not say that she has made fun of me for my religion, but when I told her that I walked the path of Christ, she said perhaps there were some people I should like to meet, and invited me tonight in that vein. I assume you are all good Christians?
I'm afraid you assume wrong. I myself, as well as my Cappadocian friend, are of the Jewish beliefs. We still believe in Jehovah.
She kind of pauses and peers at you. And then she glances at Irene, hopefully.
Irene will simply nod. Slowly.
She nods and seems to take comfort in that. Well, I have no problem with the Jews. It would be an honor to work with you.
Wonderful.
Yeah, that doesn't sound evil at all, Jesse.
Oh, it's not meant as an evil. It's meant
I
as
know it wasn't meant as one. I'm just
no.
telling
Wonderful. It was perfect.
How it was meant was him in his mind already hoping that they would be joined by, say, a Muslim or maybe even a Hindu, and which means obviously that there's going to be no. I have a problem with your faith, but not with your faith. That's the kind of thing he likes to avoid. So when he says that's wonderful, he'll add, and I hope in due time that you'll come to understand, as I'd like to think, that we like to keep an open mind within this coterie, not accepting all without asking questions, but not judging before asking those questions. Someone should be judged upon their actions, not necessarily upon their faith. Of course, infernalists, we are very much against all of us. So this joins us together.
She's watching him kind of curiously, and she nods and says, as it should. As it should.
This time he's not answering with any sort of disdainful murmur. He just simply smiles.
Well, I will say simply that I would be honored to be of assistance. If you have need of... No. No, I should say it better than that. Not if you have need, but if you find it in your heart to search for a need, a way I can be useful, let me know.
Right, those words are going to receive a perception, or perception alertness, I would say, or no perception empathy, because yes, all the distrust towards a sincere Tremere. And I also like to apologize for making a mistake. So I've been rolling 6d10 while I should be rolling 7.
How dare you? All those wants you could have had.
Oh, Saskia speaks from experience.
Unfortunately, yes, I
Aw.
do.
Okay, you have 3 successes. You get the sense that she's. You get the sense that she is someone who her courtly manners are very, very practiced.
Up to par. Got it.
But she's definitely caught up. Like she started this entire night on the wrong foot, and you kind of get the sense that she's scrambling to keep up,
Right.
but is the kind of person who is perfectly willing to scramble to keep up.
I understand what your intentions are.
But she doesn't seem like she's lying.
No,
If
no.
there's insincerity, it seems like it comes from the fact that she's
She knows exactly what she is and who she is and how people will respond to her. So she needs to be
yes.
extra careful as a Tremere
Mhm.
not to fuck up. And at this moment, because of Hiwat's sneakiness, she did fuck up. So she's on the backside of she's on the back burner of whatever happens. I get it
Mhm.
completely. Thank you.
um, the funny thing is though, as this conversation is going, and I'm just gonna stick with the P&E role she did before on Irene. She seems to have made up her mind.
Okay.
Um, as in, there's a smile on her face. And yeah, she she's kind of leaning forward as you do when you're like genuinely interested in something.
Okay.
All right. Asher would love
So
to
now,
give her the floor. She's actually stepping back slightly and looking at Irene.
so now that I presume there will be no more surprise guests, unless
Smiling at Hiwat.
Irene's like, because that would be rude, he what?
Right?
Sorry, please go.
This is going to be this is going to be known fourthly as pulling a Hiwat.
I think what we should look to is what do we wish to accomplish that can show everyone what we can do as a potential coterie. And she'll just give a pointed look at Hiwat like, we're gonna discuss business again.
Oh no, Hewat left. Hewat ducked
Oh,
out.
she already left.
Yeah,
Okay, I
she's
thought
gone.
I thought she was still standing there in the corner, like being
So
sneaky and being like.
he was
No,
at
she
he was
heard
at
Morphe
magical.
and fucked right off.
He was at like
Okay,
ST level obfuscate.
I'm sorry, I
I
missed that. Again, it's late,
No,
people.
no, you're good. You're good. Um, uh, it is late, and so Morphea is going. Ledger's going to do it because he's not at a social disadvantage. Ledger's going to rise from his creaky seat and say, "I think that that is an excellent idea, but the hour grows late. I'm afraid I have little more. I have little time left. Perhaps another night."
All right,
Yeah,
I do have an idea, but I will need to work
Please.
on some details on how to actually find something.
Asher agrees and steps forward and says, "Yes, I think that's an excellent idea, Ledger. Um, I think we should take this time, this intermittence, to think of a current problem or issue within the city that anyone has noticed that could be a potential bother or a bother to our city and the prince. Um, then we'll see or pick one from what we have found. and deal with it accordingly.
I agree.
Morpheus says to Irene, I look forward to hearing your idea. If I can be helpful.
I am sure you can.
There's almost a flash of gratitude in her smile. She has dots in not embarrassing herself, but
Oh, I thought in gratitude.
what?
I thought you would say she has dots in gratitude, but
I should give her dots in gratitude. That's hilarious. But with
I was just thinking, ST, may I spend my blood? What do you like to spend it on? I would like to put 2 points in my gratitude.
exactly.
Sorry, it's late for me too.
So, with that, I think that everyone can begin to politely make their goodbyes and have a good night. And
Handshakes and kisses, and then we all leave.
and everyone is dumped back into the street by Hiwat, who kisses you all on the cheek.
Oh,
Dumb.
wonderful.
Thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching, and good night.
Uh.
Oh, I don't have the button.
I need to read
oh
up.
fuck, I have the button. Sorry.
I was like, where's the button? It's not down. Am I an idiot? Where's the button?
Okay, bye everyone.